RTX is nothing new, but when it launched in 2018, it completely changed the way we viewed computer graphics, and it altered our meaning and perception of just what hyperrealism could actually be. But when the tech first arrived, it was a little bit half-baked, and there weren't really any games that actually supported this technology. And this is exactly why Nvidia got in touch and wanted to sponsor a video all about RTX ray tracing, to show you that it's not only capable of making games look beautiful, but the fact that it actually works at 60 FPS even on the RTX 2060. Now for context, the PC that I've put together behind me isn't what I would describe as cheap, but it's really not crazy expensive either, with a Ryzen 5 3600X CPU, 16GB of RAM, and of course our RTX 2060 graphics card. You can find the full details of all of these parts listed down below, but assuming that you ditch the 1TB PCIe SSD for the 500GB version and you don't install the RGB strip, you can get all of these components for £998 at the time of filming. And I will of course get onto the benchmarks in just a second, because I have put this through its paces and wanted to be sure that the numbers that Nvidia say you can get are actually accurate. But I thought I'd give you a bit of a refresher on what RTX actually is, and it's basically all about ray tracing effects, and you've probably heard this before, it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, and basically what it does is massively improve the lighting effects in games, because rather than having to rely on some usual trickery to have things like reflections or shadows look good on screen, it actually then calculates the path that the light would naturally take in those environments to give you things like better lighting, better reflections, and better shadows. This is achieved on a hardware level, with a Turing architecture that's used on the RTX graphics cards split into three sections: CUDA, RT, and Tensor cores. CUDA cores are used for the game rasterization, Tensor cores for the DLSS processing, and then RT cores are for ray tracing. And this is why you can't run RTX effects on any old GPU at a decent frame rate. You need the extra hardware to actually make it all run smoothly. So let's look at this hardware then, starting with the entry-level RTX card, the 2060, available for around about £300 at the time of filming. I'll waste no more time and get straight to the numbers. And as you can see, in each of the latest RTX games, we are indeed able to hit frame rates over 60 FPS in all titles at 1080p with ray tracing enabled. And there's a common misconception that RTX effects take up way too much of a tax on your frame rates, and you just can't play games with it on. But clearly, even on the starter RTX card, this just isn't the case. Now to be clear, the only real exception to this is with Control, as this was the only game that didn't manage to hit 60 FPS with DLSS disabled, the super sampling tech that renders at a lower resolution before upscaling with artificial intelligence to increase the frame rates with a similar level of image quality. Having said this, however, this is actually a game that you can tweak the RTX effects individually, and I prefer to turn off some of the more demanding reflections in favour of the slightly less taxing global lighting effects. Each of the other games use different types of ray tracing, so let's walk through them, starting with Battlefield 5. These are the classic reflection-based RTX effects that probably come into your head when you hear the term ray tracing. And it works by calculating the different parts of light that get reflected off objects, surfaces, even if they're off screen. This means that you get much more realistic reflections, and things like looking into a mirror, puddle, or sheet of glass can reflect the entire game world, rather than relying on the usual trickery that just falls apart as soon as you move the camera, or it just doesn't reflect properly in the first place. Control also uses this type of ray tracing in the default modes, and it looks awesome to have so many different glass surfaces and puddles, all giving a very lifelike level of environment visuals, all in real time. As it is one of the more taxing options, however, you can choose to use the global lighting RTX effects, as mentioned earlier, and this is somehow much more subtle, yet way more noticeable at the same time. And this method of ray tracing calculates the path that the light rays take directly from the light sources, such as maybe fixed lights or the sun, and then it works out how they'd bounce throughout the environment, so maybe in through a window or through a table, all of these sorts of things. And in a nutshell, this actually replicates the real world, and it means that the entire game suddenly just looks a lot more true to life, with rooms that have a natural glow with soft diffused lighting, and again, completely dynamic without any fakery involved at all. Finally though, we do have Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Modern Warfare, both flying the flag for ray-traced shadows, albeit in slightly different ways. The concept here should be pretty easy to understand, as rather than calculating the lighting levels or the reflections, we're instead enabling dynamic and hyper-realistic soft shadows that again can make the world look even better, and ultra shadows to you will just never look the same again. And so there you have it, all of the different numbers that you need in the latest titles, and it does back up Nvidia's claim that on a 2060 you can indeed run ray tracing at 60 FPS with minimal fuss. But the question really, and the thing that I once again wanted to address, was whether any of this stuff is actually worth it in the first place. And Nvidia were actually really good about this, and they said, look, what we want you to do is show off these numbers, prove that 60 FPS is the magic number and that you can get on these cards, and then say whatever your opinions are on ray tracing, whatever you like. Control is by far, in my opinion, the best looking ray trace title. It looks phenomenal. You've seen a lot of the footage here today, and let me tell you, completely uncompressed and on your big screen TV, and I use a controller. It's fantastic, and as long as you're hitting around about 60 FPS, then you're going to want to turn it on. Something like Battlefield 5, however, is a little bit more up in the air, and I think a lot of people will probably want to turn the RTX effects on for the campaign, and they can sort of take it in without worrying about being the most competitive person out there. But then in multiplayer, you'd turn it off and then enjoy some of the increased frame rates, or maybe experiment with DLSS to see if this is a setting you want to turn on, or whether you prefer the pure, just native 1080p. It's pretty much all entirely up to you. But the question really goes out to you guys, because these cards have now been in the hands of you for quite a long time now. I believe it's over a year. So let me know in the poll card in the top right hand corner, do you use RTX effects? And ultimately, are you finding that you're having them turned on more than you're turned off, or vice versa? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments section below what your favorite RTX titles are, and again, whether you're turning it on or whether you're just playing at 100 frames a second or whatever it is with it off. Really interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Thank you so much for watching this video. A big shout out to Nvidia once again for actually sponsoring this, re-enabling, I guess, the chat over RTX effects. It's an interesting space, and hopefully we'll see plenty more titles in the coming future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.